we're gonna record right now. So I am with Rose Reid, actress, co-writer of The Tesla Kid, aka The Lightning Code. What's the real title? I like both titles. Talk about that big transition. That's my first question to you, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, so it's always one of those really funny things when this movie went through so many different titles because when you're first writing the script, you come up with an idea that you think that this is this really cool and unique name for something. And then as you get into the marketing and everything, you realize, oh, maybe people like don't actually, that title doesn't really tell you much about the movie, or this title doesn't really represent the movie in the way that it should. And yeah, titles change so much. It's always frustrating for the creatives because you're so used to talking about it and being really excited about it and promoting it to your friends and family and the people in your immediate circle. And then it changes names and you're like, oh, it's the Tesla, the lightning code, I think is what we ended up on. So yeah, it's the lightning code is what we ended up naming it. I think it does a really good job of describing what the film is, giving it this kind of like sci-fi feel. And that's what we were going for.
So you're Gen Z, I'm Gen X, and I'm very close to my sister. I have a wonderful niece, but we're lucky if we, just because we're siblings, we just grunt when we speak. So we 10 sentences at the most in a given week. And that's a long conversation.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Th- But speaking of more impressive, what's it like to actually work with a sibling and just actually have your blood, sweat, and tears in a project like this, in a personal project like this?
Yeah. So the tiniest bit of backstory, I've been working in this industry since I was somewhere between 14 and 16 years old, depending on which project you want to consider my first. And I originally it was just something that I really wanted to do. And as I got older and realized that my brother could be interested and my dad could be interested, and we all just realized that this could potentially be a family business. There was one point that was a joke that maybe like my mom would get into catering and my other brother would get into VFX. And obviously that did end up happening, but we got one of them. My youngest brother, Andrew, did decide that he wanted to get into film. And for the longest time, it was just this pipe dream. Hey, maybe someday down the line, we'll get to all come together as a family and create something and like actually make a project just us. And yeah, that's what this project was. And it was, yeah, I've worked with family members in the past in like different capacities. And so I knew going into it that, of course, there's going to be things like you said, you have this unspoken language that you have when you're communicating with a family member. And it's sometimes it doesn't sound the most respectful, even though because you guys just have shorthand and you, like you said, you grunt at each other and you have the luxury of being a little bit, you can speak in shorter terms with family members than you can with someone else. But when you work in this professional of an environment, you have to remember that, okay, no, be professional, maintain that professionality. And so that was something that we constantly had to remember. But I would say that I'm Andrew's biggest critic. I think he's mine, and we're also each other's biggest supporters. And so I think that it makes for a really good team on a project like this where we can pull each other aside and say, hey, maybe that wasn't your best take. Do you want to try that again? What can I do to help you? And we were able to really work with each other as scene partners. So it was a really unique experience for sure.
This movie, it's a family affair, as the cliche goes, but this movie could also be great for families to view together. And what was your inspiration behind co-writing this project? Was it also to actually bring the family to see a unique film, indie drama like this, and as well as shine a spotlight possibly on Tesla himself? So can you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Yes, we definitely wanted this to be a family friendly project that everybody could come and enjoy. We wanted people to come and have a good time and leave feeling a little better than they did when they showed up. So yeah, that was definitely part of the idea behind this. I think that another reason that we were really passionate about this project in particular is because it does, like you said, shine light on an underappreciated inventor who did so many incredible things and didn't get to live to see his impact that he really made on the world. And so this was an ode to Tesla, to Nikola Tesla as well, and shine light on that inventor. But I think also as filmmakers, we all talk about this, and it's a big topic of conversation right now, which is that everything is either a sequel or a prequel or a remake, or there's all these regurgitating the same IP basically. And so this was an opportunity to make something new and fun and doesn't take itself too seriously, but at the same time is dealing with some pretty big topics and some pretty high stakes. Yeah, it was definitely the idea to always go ahead and bring the whole family out. And yes, it is a family affair. So that was something that was pretty important to us. But yeah, I love that question. I think it's was definitely important to us to shine a light on Nikola Tesla.
What about shining a light on power versus purpose? Meaning, you can have all the talent in the world as maybe a scientist or an engineer, but if some people might put that for power and glory and all the money in the world, but then sometimes it's really, I think the heart of this movie saying is sometimes you put your talents to use for a purposeful existence in this world, making a difference. Is that something that's embedded within your film as well?
Yeah, yeah. Are you a writer, Greg? Like beyond
No,
journalist?
no, I'm just a person who asks questions, and usually Rachel, if you're there, she feeds me the questions. I'm kidding. So I'm kidding.
No, that's a great question. Yes, definitely. I think it's obviously cliche to say that the path to hell is paved with good intentions, but I think that's something that we found really intriguing about Nikola Tesla's work is that by the end of his career, he was very jaded and really did he was so angry about some of the ways that he was betrayed or overlooked that he did start creating weapons. And that was something that we wanted to explore is to show that yeah, you can have all of the best intentions, but if you're not putting it towards the right thing, it can be used for the wrong thing, of course. Yeah, that was definitely a big message that we wanted to push and doing things for the right reasons. And that's something that our main character, Miles, really struggles with in the film is he's initially doing it for, like you said, the idea of fame, glory, and potentially also helping to revive the legacy of his mother and to prove his mother right. And so that is a noble goal. But when you are doing it to also lift yourself up and bring glory to yourself, I think that you can just miss things. And it's not even necessarily just, oh, that intention isn't the best. You genuinely can miss things. Miles was so single-minded in his focus to create this thing and prove to the world that he was his mother's son and that he could do this and that his mother was right. He was so intent on doing that that he missed some pretty glaring red flags. And so that was definitely something that we wanted to explore and play around with. And I think that Andrew did an incredible job bringing that to the screen. And I'm so glad that you noticed it.
This is an independent drama, independent film. And how does one have an indie film but have so many, it seems to me, VFX shots? Because that's pretty ambitious. What was the challenge? Because y- one could have cut corners, and it seems like this movie doesn't cut corners when it came to the VFX. And without giving too much away, the third act on an action tip seems very hard to do as well.
Thank you. That's a huge compliment. Yeah, I often say that we bit off a little more than we could chew for this project, but thankfully we had such an incredible team. Our executive producers who came in, our producing partners who came in, Evolve Studios, Jen Lewis, Joel Edwards, everyone, Daniel, they were so incredible. They knew how to help us plan everything out when it came to the action sequences. And we really were able to put together this incredible team to be able to accomplish this. But when it comes to the VFX, that was Tower 33. They are a VFX house and they have worked on some incredible projects, but they're also Kyle Gordon and Elle Sassenrath are the founders and owners of the company. And they are friends. They're now friends of ours after this project, but they really put so much sweat equity into this and really just they made it their own and came in and said, "Hey, we're going to participate on a bigger level than we've participated on other projects." And we are so grateful for it. We could not have done this without them. It was, like I said, it was an incredibly ambitious project to be trying to accomplish as a little indie studio, and we certainly couldn't have done it without them. But we're so grateful for the VFX artists who came on board, and we had countless VFX artists that got to come to the premiere and get to see their work on screen pretty recently, which was so cool. And they're all so talented, and that whole world is just wildly underappreciated and deserves way more credit than they get because I can't imagine I can't imagine the kind of work that goes into these, like you said, the sequences that are in this film in particular, but certainly in anything bigger than this.
Where was this film shot? I was going to say Nashville, but I'm probably wrong. Where was it shot?
No, good guess. Yeah, it was shot in Nashville. When most of your crew and your team and your production team all live in Nashville, it just makes the most sense to shoot it in Nashville. So we're really grateful to the Nashville Film or the Tennessee Film Incentive for helping us out with that.
In layman's term, because I have no idea what it's like to shoot an indie or a movie in Nashville, you have the bird's eye view, you have the experience. What don't people know about shooting in Nashville? Is it very welcoming to the film community in general, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, I haven't had that question before. Yeah, definitely. I think that we shot all over Nashville. We shot some in outskirts of Nashville. We shot some in Franklin. We kind of shot around. But yes, everyone over at the Film Commission is lovely. I think that obviously we don't have one of the best film incentives in the country, but we make up for it with really talented crew, very dedicated crew, and just everyone's really hungry for work in Nashville and they're really hungry for good work. And a lot of them are coming from LA with after COVID, after the pandemic, a lot of filmmakers left LA and came to Nashville just maybe seeking the whatever they were seeking and maybe the green rolling hills. I don't know what they could have gotten in Nashville that they weren't getting in California, but they came to Nashville. And so we have this incredible crew base that's so talented and so eager to do some incredible work that I think that's something that people don't realize when we say we shot in Nashville. You don't think of Nashville as like this big film hub or anything like that. And so you're probably thinking like, how in the world do you get the equipment? How do you get the team? There's so many talented crew members in Nashville and great camera houses, great G&E houses for like lights and electric, all the things. And yeah, there's challenges in some ways because it's not inherently a film friendly city. The locals aren't as familiar. If they see a camera rolling instead of in LA, you just walk right by. You don't even you're just like, whatever, and you just keep walking. But if in Nashville, people are like, oh, look at that. And so you might see someone in the background going, oh, look at that. So it's not like inherently a film friend or film conscious city, but we make up for it with incredible crew. Everybody who lives there is just wonderful and nobody complains about us taking over their street or anything like that. It's really a great place to shoot and it's great food, great hotels, so can't recommend it more.
So, where you are right now, are you surprised at where you are right now as a screenwriter and as an actress, or did you have that plan in place maybe a decade prior? Are you, and if you are not surprised, why are you not surprised where you are right now in general?
I think that's a really good question. I think that in some ways, yeah, I'm very surprised. Particularly with screenwriting, that was always my goal was to be a screenwriter. And it felt like initially when I was like a 14-year-old screenwriter and was like, I'm going to be huge. I'm going to be like the next whoever. And as I got older and I realized how difficult it was to be a screenwriter and how hard it was to break in. And at the time I was primarily acting and really trying to become a screenwriter through acting and gain some credits there as well as some contacts and there have been several years in between me being a 14-year-old screenwriter and now that I just was ready to throw in the towel on being a screenwriter because it was just so hard to even get your foot in the door. So definitely when it comes to screenwriting, but I will say that there has been a plan. This We've been very strategic, whether it's my team and I or now like my dad and my brother, and we really want to hopefully someday be able to work on projects together. My brother Andrew, he's very talented. He's a great actor. He goes and works on his own things. My dad is an executive producer now and he goes and produces his own projects. He's got something this summer. And then I have my own things that I go and do. And then hopefully eventually we all get to come back together and work on a project together. Yes, it is surprising and it a pleasant surprise, but also there is a plan in place and we're hoping to continue to enact that plan in the future and hopefully be able to do some more projects together.
This is probably a very bad analogy, but it seems like screenwriting, writing, reading is a first love of yours, and then along the way to get these contacts, you became an actor and you've become a successful actor in that sense. Has acting over the years, because of the opportunities you've received, has it replaced that first love from when you were 14, or are they just side by side bedfellows now?
That's such a good question. I think that they're pretty much bedfellows right now. I love acting. I'm really happy to have the career that I have and be able to travel the world and and I think that's the thing that I didn't realize I was going to love so much about acting is that not only was I going to get to with writing, you can write stories, come up with worlds, and that's the thing that really enticed me was like coming up with these really in-depth characters and finding a way to weave a moral through something so it doesn't feel you don't even notice the moral as you're reading the story. And when it comes to acting, it's something completely different. It's trying on different skin and trying on different clothes and seeing if you wanted to be an FBI agent, that's cool because you get to go pretend to be one and you get to do all this research like you are an FBI agent. When there's some of that included in act or in writing as well. But yeah, I think they're definitely bedfellows at this point for different reasons. I think that even if I weren't in film, I would still be writing. but I don't ever think I can give up acting at this point either. So I'm not really even sure how to fully answer that question. But yeah, I would say 50-50.
Rose, final question is a two-parter. First off, right off the top of your head, can you name one of your all-time favorite movies? And what is it about this film that still resonates with you? And the second part of that question is from your own resume, whether it be TV show, series, or film, can you recommend a project that you've done that you feel is underrated and people should watch and go see?
Yeah, definitely. These are great questions. Oh my gosh, Greg. Yeah. So right off the bat, I already know what my favorite film is right now. It's A Quiet Place. It is, I think that the reason that's my favorite film is because it has this huge world, but it's actually about a family. And it's this very small story about a family. It's about a father and a daughter trying to reconcile when there's like grief and misunderstanding between them. And I think that the way it was shot was absolutely stunning. And the way that they were able to convey so much emotion with just looks and hand gestures and sign language, it was absolutely beautiful. And yeah, so that's probably my favorite project. And then underrated project of mine, I would have to say Surprised by Oxford, directed by Ryan Whitaker. It's a project that I did, gosh, I guess back in 2021, and I believe it released in 23 maybe. And it's set in Oxford, England, and it's just a project that's really close to my heart because I got to play a character that felt very close to home. A lot of people know me from the rom-com that I did in Ireland that was like this very fun, like happy-go-lucky girl and like muttered and stumbled over her words and very clumsy. And that's great, and I loved playing her, like, she will always hold a special place in my heart, but this project, Surprised by Oxford, that character just really hit home, and it also deals with some really deep questions and is very intellectual, and it asks some really deep things, so I would say that, yeah, probably that's my most underrated, I think, project.
Rose, thank you so much. I really enjoy the Lightning Code. I want to call it the Tesla Kid. I want to call it both, but I really enjoyed the film. And again, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Greg. It's been so great chatting with you, and I hope you become a writer because you already seem to know everything there is to know about writing, so I just feel like you should just jump in and be a screenwriter at this point.
Thank you so much. Next time we interview, I don't care. You're gonna have the same background because I really like that.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
amazing,
know. I'm like, you could have been seeing a beach, but
right?
instead you're seeing blue.
All right, you take care, Rose. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rachel, if you're there, thank you so much.